Okay. So first of all, introduce about yourself.
Yeah, sure. This is Moses Kamlapure, and I have completed my engineering in the year of 2012 from University of Pune, and I have come up with 9 years of experience with three of the organizations. Okay, so the entire 9 years of experience was into Java, where I got a chance to leverage and learn the things from different tech stack. I mean, in the initial years, I worked with Spring Hibernate and then few big data frameworks like Elasticsearch and Flume. Okay, and then in the second organization, it was completely into big data frameworks for 3 years, and later the recent organization which I was working with, where I got a chance to work on microservices and Spring Boot, and along with some big data frameworks as well. So there I have worked on moving monolithic application into a Spring Boot application, and again supporting or certifying it on the containerized environment. So that is how I've come up with the experience.
Okay. And in Java 8, how many years of experience do you have?
I've been using Java 8. I mean, since it has been released. I mean, I have comfortably written some functional interfaces plus some Stream APIs also I have used. So I would say, I mean, from 3 years I'm using Java 8 features.
Okay. So can you explain me the internal working of the hash map in Java 8?
Yeah, sure. I will do that here. So basically, hash map is a data structure where the hash tables get placed into in the background. I mean, in the internal structure where each hash table has a key. Okay. If you look at the hash map class, where you will get a array plus some hash code of that element which is going to be saved over there, and again it will have the bucket kind of structure where if I add any element into the hash map, then the hash code of that value will be calculated, and that hash code will be supplied to the hash map, one of the hash function which is being used in hash map, and upon that it will identify the bucket. Okay, and that bucket will decide into the hash table where it has to be saved. Again, if the hash map and equals methods are well implemented, then there will be a less way of collisions, like having one element at the more than one element at the same bucket. So that's how it has to be. There is a contract between hash code function and the equals function. So in this way it works. Even if you this is how it works in terms of insert, and in terms of get as well, it will do the same procedure. Like it will get the hash code and then apply a hash function, and it will identify the bucket number, and then it will see whether there are multiple elements saved over there, and it will again check on. It will move on to the equals method. So even updating or the overriding, this is how it works. And in 1.8, I guess there is a change in the internal structure of the hash map, where earlier the bucket size where the collision happens and the elements get padded or appended to the list, it used to be 8. I mean, if it is more than 8, then that linked list gets converted into the binary search tree. So that is how the new way of implementation is provided in Java 1.8.
Okay. Can you explain me the adapter design pattern?
Yeah, sure. Basically, adapter design pattern is something where some events get triggered, or some say there is a base implementation. Okay, on top of it, if we provide any additional information, then the object, the way that object gets created and the classes being implemented, okay, on that additional information, it will try to identify from these information which kind of object has to be created. So it is base plus the additional information. Based on that, the different different kinds of objects get created in polymorphism. Basically, when we write a design pattern, we had to take care of the polymorphism and the single responsibility principles, solid principles, and all. So if I say, for example, if I am asking somebody to give me a pizza, on top of it some cheese has to be added more and all. So then that pizza flavor will be cheese burst pizza. So in this way, the object creation and the way it gets created is depending on, it changes the way of creating the object.
Okay, do you have the experience on microservices?
Yes, Datta.
Okay, can you explain this Saga design pattern?
Which one?
Saga, have you heard about that?
No, I haven't heard about that.
Okay, so how you can manage the transaction between two microservices?
Okay, so basically, say if I have two microservices deployed, okay, and one, if the client requests to the one microservice and it is depending upon some other microservice, then there has to be a way to get the other microservice. If it is in the same microservice, then it is easy for calling it. If it is dependent upon some other microservice, then there has to be a call, and till the time that call doesn't get it doesn't respond anything, it will wait, and then it will do processing and again return back. I mean, in case of this, the dependent microservice is not available. In that case, the heuristics comes into picture. Heuristics comes into picture, where if some microservice is not available and the way it has been implemented, if we have heuristics applied over there, it will return the default response to the calling microservices. So it has to be maintained in that way, the chaining of the microservices.
Okay, can you explain the JVM architecture?
Okay, so basically in the JVM architecture, earlier, it is, I'm explaining this thing in terms of the garbage collection and all. So earlier it used to be have a JVM heap space and all. So that heap space had the contiguous memory allocation, okay? So where that fixed amount of memory will be allocated to the JVM, and any heap variables get saved over there. It will be saved in a different, again, there is a young generation and there are different generation. Actually, I don't remember. I just remember the one now. There is the young generation and some other generation and the heap space. So the objects we create, how frequently we use them, how less frequently they are being used, the JVM moves those objects into different generations. Okay, so that this is how the garbage collector works, and we have no control over to clear that object from the JVM. So it is all dependent upon the JVM implementation. From Java 8, I guess, I don't remember the exact version from where this changes has been added to the I guess it's 1.8 only, where permgen has been completely removed. Earlier it used to be continuous block. Now the heap area or the heap space is there, which is a linked list kind of thing. Okay, so the complete memory gets utilized by the JVM, and as and when required, it will. I mean, I don't see any permgen settings now being applied over there. And again, there are different ways of loading the JVM into the classes into the JVM, like class bootstrap class loader. Again, so basically, whenever we say the loading of the classes, so now all these classes have to be in a string, have been in a string format. So that's why loading of them is easy, and since strings are immutable, so there is no chance of confusion for the JVM. If it happens to be, then it will show some issues with that one.
Fine. What is the difference between immutable and singleton?
Okay. Immutable is the one which once we initialize that one, and then there is no way of updating that object. Okay, and the singleton is the way of creating that object. Okay, and again, if I say immutable class, once we have the way of initializing it in a one, say in case of string, we can define a string and do double quotes, and it is a immutable class where the class methods are private and those are not from where we cannot change the state of the object. Okay, so that is how the immutable works. And for the singleton, there is a way. It is a kind of a design pattern where the objects get created at in the complete JVM. There is only one instance of that object. So again, there are different ways of implementing it. Implementing the singleton class, like synchronized block, double check, and I believe the other one which recently I have learned is the static inner class, through which we create the singleton object. So it's a way, having a one instance of the class within a JVM.
Okay. Can you explain me the AOP concept?
Aspect-oriented programming?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, whenever we write the code, we don't want to much focus on the logging kind of thing or some transaction management, which has to be there. I mean, by default, and we need not to care about these are the additional things. Okay. So there we have the Spring has come up with the way of writing the code in a such a way that if we just provide a method and on top, once we call that method, then the other additional code has to be executed, even if we don't write it in that same function block. Okay, there are different aspects. Aspects are nothing but the cross-cutting concerns. Okay, which are additional things apart from our business logic. So if I want to execute that particular logging method before execution and after execution of that particular method, then we have the after and before aspect-oriented programming phase. How we define that? There are join cut, there are join point, and point cuts are there. Join points, when to call; point cuts, what all has to be called and what has to be done. So this is how the Spring manages the execution flow as well and provides the additional features on top of it.
Okay. So in your current project, have you implemented AOP somewhere?
We have this AOP implemented for the logging purpose only. I mean, whenever we hit onto any API, and then before exiting from that API, we do a logging kind of thing just to see which method has been, which API has been called, and what information has to be supplied over there and all. I believe Spring has given some what I say in transaction management as well. The Spring will help us with this AOP.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In DTO, we will use serial version ID. What is the purpose of that?
Sorry, come again. I didn't get that question.
Serial version ID, one field we will use in our DTO class in Java, right? Have you used that?
Are you referring to the serial version which gets created from the JVM when we was serialization and all that? That's what.
Correct.
So basically, what the JVM does, if you don't provide any serial version, it will create on top based on the current structure of the class. It will create the serial version ID. I mean, that version ID will be supplied. I mean, while we do a serialization, if we do a deserialization of that object and that class structure is changed now, then that serial version key has to be changed. So it's for like authenticity. What I would say that the object was serialized with this version, having these many fields and these many things. Now that the same version of that class has to be deserialized. So just for the sake of uniformity between the serialized and before serialized object, that's what we used. It's again, I mean, additional information that gets saved while serializing the object.
Mojesh, just give me a 2 minute.
Yeah, sure.
Mojesh, in the chat box, I have shared one problem statement. Can you write down the SQL query for that problem statement?
Okay, copy this one. Okay, there is an employee table, country table. Okay, sum of salary, starting employee name with M and country code is okay. Sum of salary, name.
You can share your screen and write down the notepad.
Yeah, I'll share it. Let me know once you are able to see my screen. Okay.
Yes, I'm able to see.
Trying to break this query. Okay. So I will get a employee name.
So select sum of salary from employee where employee name like M.
I haven't written the complete yet. I'm just trying to break.
Okay, write down.
Yeah. Country code is Asia, right? So this is one of the query I have written, and here we can have a possible. So what I would try to do here is just to get the sum of salary and the code as well along with that one. If we want the name, we can also. So this is what the Cartesian join. Okay. And then I have filtered employee name that is starting from M, and the code is Asia, where.
Okay, now consider we have one employee class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and employee class having suppose 3 field ID, name, and list of country. Okay.
Name, list of country.
Name and list of country. Okay. So create a class, and I want to mark that class as an immutable. So do the whatever changes are required for that class.
Okay, class employee. We enter is also fine with that. Okay. String. Country name. Array would be fine, right? Or a list would also be fine. I will just so this is how the class. So setter methods need not to be any. I mean, it's just for setter methods has to be don't need any setter methods, but if provided we can have no setter methods will also be fine. I mean, we are not going to change no setter methods. Getter methods has to be there. Then this is the constructor where I will be getting this one constructor for just name. Do you want me to write it in Eclipse or it is fine with that?
Fine. Only some keywords are like required. So partially no getter is fine. Getter. Okay. So you wrote one constructor. Okay.
This will initialize the this dot id equal to to be no local shadowing of that thing. Okay. And here I mean since we can list of countries, we can either pass from the user, okay, or we can have some method that will automatically populate not public actually, private would be fine. Private get a list of countries. I mean, I don't see any. And if we want to provide a default way of initializing the list, then that can be done over here.
Okay.
Then list dot underscore country. We can call that method over here, which will return the list of the strings.
Okay.
Here we can have a list of string entries. Again, since we are, if it is array, then we can pass it on the array from here. That's not an issue.
Suppose we have one microservice, okay, and in that microservices we have 100 Maven dependencies, okay.
Okay.
Your task is to identify which dependencies are used for that project and which are unused. So how you can check that?
Okay, there are one microservices there, and there are hundreds of dependencies. And I have to identify
which are used.
Yeah, what all dependencies have been used there.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, in a simple terms, if I don't write any code and any not code specific thing for identifying that thing, basically in pom.xml, if you go, dependency hierarchy is there, where you will get a list of all the dependencies being added into the pom.xml. Okay. And if I go on commenting one by one, it would take much time. But eventually, we can get a grip of what all dependencies have been there, and because of commenting them, what kind of compilation issues are coming there. So that is the one way. That is a manual way of identifying the dependencies. And apart from that, any code. See, even if while building, we can get it will itself will identify if any dependency is missing or something in terms of compilation code and all. But any other way of identifying it without manual stuff.
Okay.
I don't come across such any scenario, but I don't. But there has to be some way of identifying it. No, that I don't.
No, not an issue. Yeah. Fine. There are some Maven tools you can check on later on, like Maven tree or something. These commands are there.
Oh, okay. So is it a MVN tree or a what?
Yes. Similarly, there is another command you can check later on.
Okay, fine.
So in CI/CD side, do you have the experience on Docker?
Yes, actually what happened, we have a race team, okay? The race team is quite mostly involved into the support and giving rights to the, I mean, both, that team is mostly involved into program and product, both. So they have very less time to set up the new Jenkins server. So since I was into a framework or a toolkit team where I had to do some POCs and all things, like even the certifying our microservices on containerized environment on top of Kubernetes cluster. All these things have been carried by me. I was the part of that team. So the coming to the answer to your question, that race team had no time. So what management wanted to have is, since we are certified on the containerization, we want the Jenkins server itself be containerized one. Okay. So that purpose, what I had to sync up with the build team or a race team and identify what all plugins are there in the current server, and what kind of way of writing the pipelines are being carried out, and how the and targets are being executed. So the whole picture I had to understand. Then I have used one image of Jenkins where there will be a pre-existing, once the server is available or in the form of container, the server itself will have all the required plugins already installed. There is one plugin that is configuration as a code plugin, which will enable us to give a TXT file listing all the plugins, so that whenever and that TXT file gets used inside that image, and there is one script already provided. Okay, that script get executed. That script reads that TXT file and downloads that plugins and installs in that image itself. So when server is up, all the plugins will be there. Even I have got a chance to utilize that configuration as a code plugin in such a way that my Active Directory users will be available for the login. Okay. And apart from that, what I got a chance to work on that front was any organization that I have seen. There is a Jenkins server and the static agents are attached to that Jenkins server. So what management wanted to do was, since we have the containerized Jenkins server, then we will have these agents in a dynamic way. Like if I execute one particular image from the pipeline, that image will come up. It will do checkout of code, compile the code, and then build the WAR files and push it to the local JFrog artifactory. Till that point, I have got a chance to work on that front. Okay. So it's like sharing the Docker CLI and Docker client from the host, and using the same CLI or a host Docker engine, the whole Jenkins server and the dynamic agent will do the stuffs which are required for us. Provided this, as I said, this. Checking out the code and building the code, so that pipeline has to be there in that code itself, so that providing that path as a starting point for the pipeline, it will execute the whole stuff. So Jenkins what I see is it's a framework or a application where we can plug our own custom plugins as well, not just the standardized one. Our own plugins also can be supplied at the class path level and can be leveraged.
Okay, fine. Okay, I think I'm done from my side. Do you have any question for me?
I just wanted to know, I'm a bit curious to know that if everything goes fine and if I get selected, and what kind of project will be there and what technical stack is there?
Okay, so regarding the project, HR will help you, because like we have multiple projects, and for which project you are going to be attacked, maybe HR having the more idea. But technologies wise, like in almost every project, we will use like Spring Boot, microservices, Kafka. In some project we will use Mongo, some in Oracle, Couchbase.
Okay.
And from Java side, we will use Java 8 version.
Okay. Fine.
And CI/CD side, we will use OpenShift, Bitbucket, Jenkins,
okay.
Docker.
Okay. I see a lot of things. A few of the things yet to be explored from my side, and few of the things I have already got a chance to work on, and I can apply my experience over there. Yeah. So
frank with you, Mojesh, I am sharing the positive feedback. Okay, for the L2 level. But what I observed, you have whenever I ask you some concept, any question, you explain me very well, excellent level. Okay, I'm completely agree with that. But whenever I ask you some theory questions or that, in coding side, I don't know, means it's look like some I found some syntax error and those things which is not expect from as a lead profile. Okay. So in the remark, I have mentioned the same thing. So in L2 also they will ask you some coding questions on that. But apart from that, I'm fine.
Okay, fine. We'll do.
Maybe I don't know what's happened, but those things I found. So I thought I told you for the same, because theoretically whenever I ask you you have given the excellent answers. Okay. So in L2 levels, so make sure whatever the panel is asked for on the coding, most focus on the syntax and those things, because your profile is for a lead, it's not for only Java developer. Okay. So you are part of the team review team, code reviewer team. So those things are very important for us.
Understand? Yeah.
Okay. So that's it from my side. Do you have any other questions for me?
No, Datta. Thanks for the feedback. I will definitely work on those things. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you much.
Thank you.